welcome to another episode of Ask the Doc. I'm your host, Jennifer Filzen, and today I have with me Angie Manson of Elevate Addiction Services in Santa Cruz, West Coast girls. Welcome, Angie.
Woo! Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
We're enjoying this moment, Steve, because we're only 45-minute drive apart and we're both on the West Coast where it's early. And so we're both agreeing that, yes, this is early, but I'm so glad you're here. And I love your studio. And tell us what you're doing at Elevate Addiction Services, please.
Well, I am the CEO and co-owner of Elevate, and we are a residential treatment program for drugs and alcohol located here in Northern California. We have 2 locations in Santa Cruz and South Lake Tahoe. We've also now have virtual outpatient that we pivoted to during the pandemic, so we can help people across the entire United States. Although we already kind of do. We have people coming from all over to do our program. And basically, Elevate is a non-traditional, non-12-step, holistic program where we help people overcome their addiction and go on to lead amazing, happy, productive lives without the need to use drugs or alcohol.
Love it. Love what you're doing. So now tell me a little bit about your history. How did you get down this journey? How is it that you have such an awesome look and a great looking studio and changing lives? How did you do it?
So I started off using at a really young age, drinking at 11 years old. I was a latchkey kid and I had a single mom who had me very young. So I had a lot of freedom and independence. So I started with that freedom and independence, getting myself in a lot of trouble at a very young age. My mom put me in my first rehab at 16. And then that didn't really help. That more catapulted me into meeting new people to party with and have fun with. And so by the time I was 19, 20, I had gotten myself in a lot of trouble that when you're a juvenile, you don't realize, okay, once you turn 18, that record gets sealed, kind of a clean slate. For me, it's a consecutive space and time. So I just kept doing what I was doing. But now I was in a situation where I was facing 10 years in prison. So I was very fortunate enough to have a judge who had some sympathy for me. And this was back in the day where drug diversion wasn't necessarily a thing. In fact, I've done some research since then and realized that I was probably one of the very first people who was offered drug treatment as opposed to prison. And so he gave me a year in rehab, which I luckily found a program where my best friend had gone previous. And so I was, and the other thing is I couldn't really afford it. We come from a very low income family. There wasn't a lot of means there. I also had a family who was sort of tough love, and they were like, why would we bail to get you out of your situation? You got yourself into it. And so I started working a couple months in, maybe even only a month into actually doing the program. And that's where I sort of found my passion and purpose for helping others. Up to that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I did know I liked helping people. I was always that person that liked to help people. Fast forward a couple of years, even though I completed rehab, I still had this restitution. I still had probation. I still had 10 years hanging over my head. So I sort of stayed put and kept giving back. And at the end of the 3 years, the judge was very, he was just so happy to finally see a success story, as he put it, in his courtroom, that he released me of all charges and restitution and sort of gave me a clean slate on life, which was amazing. I never even heard of. It was kind of like a pardon from whoever used to get pardons. So it was pretty phenomenal. But I've just stayed there ever since, fast forward 28 years later. Now I own and operate the program. About 8 years ago, we created Elevate, where we utilized a curriculum that we came up with, health, nutrition, diet, all as parts of getting people to overcome addiction. And we have a tremendous success rate. And there you go. That's the very quick version, because I know we have a quick amount of time.
Well, I tell you, I'm so impressed and I'm so inspired by your story and how sad that you had these challenges, but how fortunate and lucky you were to be among the first to try something new. And what's really interesting too is I remember also being a latchkey kid. I also remember having all that freedom, and sometimes the freedom can get you in a little bit of trouble. I get it. I totally get it.
Oh, yeah.
But it is so fascinating how you were on the cutting edge of a new level of treatment. And what's really also interesting to me is that I feel that COVID also brought us into a new level of treatment, because I'm so impressed and inspired by how much mental health is being discussed. You mentioned that you come from a family of tough love. I also remember that tough love was pretty much the way you raised children in our generation, and that you certainly don't talk about certain things, and therapy is not something that you do because that would put a pox on the name of the family, right? So the fact that things are changing and evolving, and here you are doing some great work. Can you share a success story besides your amazing own success story? But can you share us a success story that you've had in recent times with your program?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. I'm very fortunate that every Friday night we have graduation, so I get to see the success every single week, which is amazing. My staff, my team has been with me, like the executive structure, about 18 of us, for anywhere between like 9 and 25 years. So I've been very fortunate and blessed to have a group of people that are like-minded, where we're creating miracles every single day. And, that's anything from a 19-year-old that just overdosed on fentanyl, which we see as being very, that is one of the biggest enemies right now that not a lot of people are talking about. So when we're able to help a kid and his family or her family overcome something that serious at that age, for me, that's always a huge success. And then likewise, we've had a lot of older people who are in their 60s, 70s, who've been chronic alcoholics their whole life, giving them back their life where they can go out and enjoy and be with their families. So we really get to experience and see both ends of the spectrum and everything in between every single day and week.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. And thank you so much for joining me today, Angie. I mean, truly. And everybody who's watching, I hope that you are just as impressed as I am with Angie Manson and what she's doing at Elevated Addiction Services in Santa Cruz, California. If you would like to find out more about her business, please visit Buzz TV at iwannabuzz.com. And we appreciate you watching today. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye.